Are you haunted by the thoughts that show up at 3 a.m.? Good. This is where we follow them, where science meets ritual, humor meets reckoning, and aging and identity are viewed as evolution. And to where we ask the only question that matters: how do we craft a life that can hold what emerges? Candles optional, curiosity required. Ghosts welcome. I'm your host, Julia Bernacchi, and this is Agecraft After Dark. Hello, ladies and gentlemen, theys and thems. Today I'm recording this opening monologue on May 30th, the 1-year anniversary of my dog Baxter's passing. He was my husband's and my first child. He had a pituitary tumor that we treated with radiation. Thank goodness for pet insurance. And we thought we were in the clear, but he developed a brain bleed and we had to put him down about 6 months later. That is all to say that today has been sad, and I've been thinking about him a lot. He spent the last 2 weeks of his life in the ICU, where we did everything we could to keep him with us. And even now, as I reflect, I still judge myself, wishing I had done something differently, wondering if I did enough. And if I let them, those thoughts and that grief can carry me into a very dark place. But with the approaching full moon, I'm working hard to release something. Not my grief, because holding on to it right now makes me feel closer to Baxter. But these should've, could've thoughts, those need to go. So I started my day with a short gratitude list. I wrote down how grateful I am that Baxter chose me as his mama and that we had the means and the pet insurance to treat him. And then I spent some time just listening to the ocean, allowing myself a moment of stillness. And in that stillness, I realized I hadn't even known how sad and triggered I was until I found that quiet. I was able to cry a little bit, to process. And it got me thinking about how sound is often my go-to when my nervous system feels like it's lit up like a Christmas tree. I just have a few sounds that I work with that I really love. One of those is the ocean. And I put on my headphones and I practice some mindfulness and just find that stillness. The point of that is that I would not have known that about myself had I not worked with today's guest, who is Mark Price. And he is a coach and teacher with over 25 years of experience helping people create lasting, sustainable change from the inside out. His work lives at the intersection of somatic practice, nervous system regulation, meditation, and social change. He is a Vedic meditation teacher trained in traditional coaching, somatic experience, and inner relationship focusing, also known as IRF. And he's the founder of Alchemy Collective, where he leads transformative programs for individuals, organizations, and communities around the world. Today, his work focuses on helping people reconnect with their inner resources, build resilience, and create meaningful change in their lives and beyond. He is also a friend, and I'm so excited that he's here today. Now let's get into the show. Hi, Mark. It's so good to see you.
Hi, how are you? It's so good to see you. I'm so happy to be reconnected here.
I know. For everyone listening, this is Mark's second time here. He was on Circling the
Yes.
Drain many
Yes.
eons ago, and we had discussed Vedic meditation. Today, we're going to cover a little bit of that, but also just somatic response. We're going to get a nervous system regulation, all kinds of stuff. Yeah. Um,
Please.
and for my listeners, if my voice sounds extra sultry and salty, I am salty, but sultry and sexy, it's because I'm getting over sinus infection. So you're welcome, everyone.
Yes. Yes.
Um,
And listen, if my voice sounds a little congested, I mean, 'tis the season, it's
'Tis the
allergies, right?
season. Yeah, 'tis the
So you're
season.
in good company.
Appreciate that. All right, we're gonna dive right in. Mark, I'm gonna ask you to please state your name, your pronouns, your age, and what's keeping you up at night.
Oh my goodness. Okay. My name is Mark Price. Pronouns he, him. Age. I always have to think about this.
I
52. I'm
know.
about to be 53.
Look at
So
you.
yeah, almost 53. Yeah. Um, oh gosh. What's keeping me up at night? Where are we headed? Where are we headed? That's the popular question, you
Where are
know?
we headed?
Where are we headed? It is a choose your own adventure. So, I think what keeps me up at night is like just flirting with possibility. What is possible right now? And like just fucking doubling down on that.
Yeah.
Like, because if you don't have a preference, someone else will. So, there's a lot of Chicken Little syndrome right now. The sky is falling, and I think now's the time, to really. We talk a lot about like, tearing stuff down, letting things fall apart, but we don't talk a lot about what do we want to build. So
Mm, I
that's what
like that
keeps me
approach.
up. Yeah.
I've been thinking a lot about how, so when we're recording this, Artemis 2 just landed like last week.
Yes.
And that is one of the things that is kind of bringing me a lot of joy. And
Yes.
because it is this sort of unified, wonderful moment for humanity that feels so joyous.
Yeah.
And I just keep coming back to that when I start to doom scroll and I begin to lose my mind. But that idea, like we are building, there are some good things. We just have to look for them and find that joy where we can.
I mean, I think about like, did we ever have like every single astronaut that was in a rocket ship prior? Were they all TED Talk speakers? Like, because I feel like we've been just getting the most inspirational commentary,
Yeah,
from their journey that has just been gas in the tank on so many levels.
totally. And it just makes me think that we're all kind of in the same place. Like they're
100%.
they're checking all the boxes, they're pressing
Yeah.
all the buttons, saying all the right
Oh, yeah.
things.
Yeah.
Starting with that moment when Trump called the space shuttle, and there was that huge moment of silence, and everybody, it was just like, everybody looking
I
around.
was waiting. Yes, I was waiting for like just a McDonald's Big Mac to float, past the screen.
If only, if only
That
someone
would have
needs
been
to.
genius.
Oh my God. If anyone's listening out there and you have the capabilities, please put that together and throw that up on
Oh,
TikTok or Insta or wherever, because
that
that
would
is
have been
what we need.
amazing.
Oh my goodness. All right. Before we digress or go tangential too much, where are you right now in the liminal space of aging and identity? And to give you context, it's kind of like what feels like it's ending or what feels like it's beginning or even emerging.
Yeah. Well, I'm a middle-aged gay man, so like there's so much that is ending and I couldn't be more happier. Like long gone are the days to have pressure to have like 0% body fat. Like not that I kind of like fell into that, but I feel like it's kind of a subculture thing.
Mm,
And I think with uh a lot of gay men, middle-aged, feel like they have an expiration date, and I think that is absolute fucking garbage.
yeah.
Like, I'm just getting started. Like, I don't know how about you, but the older I get, the more exciting it is.
Yeah.
And like liminal states are where it's at. So, like, how much can we continue to let go? How much can we continue to just like let it die, let it go, and so that we can really discover like what we're stepping into. So, for the first time in a long time, I feel like liminal states and I are like steadily dating. And it's
Oh,
like we're having like the best dates, we're having the best dinners, like we're just like nailing it. We're going to the opera, like it's everything. It feels incredibly resourceful.
yeah. I
Yeah.
I feel similarly, and I something that I love about this show so far. We're still in early stages, and I'm not sure when this is going to air quite yet, but at this point I've recorded quite a few episodes, and the general feedback that I'm getting, which I'm so excited about, is that a lot of people are feeling that way. Like they really, the feedback I continue to get is I'm feeling more myself. I'm
Yeah.
feeling like I can let go of things. I'm really kind of coming back to who the core, my core kind of like person, the core thing that I feel I've always been. I've said many times at this point, I feel like I am the most myself that
Yeah.
I've ever been. I'm also hearing from people, that I like myself right now more than I ever have,
Yeah.
or maybe I never liked myself and now I love myself. I mean,
Yeah.
this is the 50s that I want for people.
Oh gosh, yeah. Yeah, it's beautiful. It's beautiful. And I hope more and more people can lean into that.
Same, same.
Yeah.
That's what we're here
Yeah.
for, to tell
Yeah.
people that you can.
Thank
Lean in.
God.
Yeah.
Yeah. All the way in.
Boy, you work with nervous system regulation. Somatic, which we're going to get into, also Vedic
Yeah.
meditation. Can you
Yeah.
talk about what that actually means beyond the sort of buzzword version? Because there's a lot of like buzz right now about like nervous system regulation and what that means.
Yeah.
Yeah, so tell us a little bit more about what exactly it is that you do and how all of that works.
I'll start by telling you what it isn't, which
Yeah.
is it's not about feeling calm all the time. It's not about feeling like, you know, like down regulated all the time. It's about relationship, and I think about like what I do now, which is a combination of traditional coaching, meditation, working with the body, and also working with IRF, which is interrelationship focusing,
Mm.
which is basically a somatic model of a therapeutic model of parts work. And all of it lies at the intersection of relationship. And I was just talking to someone right before this call. We were talking about like people don't necessarily know when they're being lied to, but they know when they're being told the truth.
Mm.
And so I feel like a lot of what I do is creating the supportive conditions for people to find truth within themselves so that they can decide what they want to do moving forward with that truth. So there's so much conditioning that removes us to be in relationship with so many aspects, not only of our body, of our nervous system. I can't tell you how many people that I work with, trying to get them and a lot honestly a lot with men, like getting them back in touch with their emotions, getting them in touch with anger, getting them in touch with their sensitivity. There's so much possible when people access the full spectrum of their human condition, and that's the thing that I feel like lights me up the most.
Yeah, and I like what you just said there about getting in touch with your anger because I think a lot of people view this kind of work as um calming, like it's always a calming experience. And as I know because I have worked with you, it isn't always that. Anger
No.
is important and being able to observe and feel and understand it is important, especially during these times because we have a lot to be angry about,
Yeah.
but I think it's creating space to understand it better. Does that kind of sound like what
Yeah.
it is?
Yeah, it's employing a compassionate lens of curiosity to build relationship with what's there rather than compartmentalize the parts of ourselves that we may not like, and provide space for reintegration,
Yeah.
because that's where it's at. Like, the anger is sacred. It can be so sacred. Rage can be so sacred, and yet here we are, like, in a world that tells us that those things are bad, or that they
Yeah.
can be bad. So relationship is key. Relationship is everything.
It's also relationship to the others, keeping connection with our community,
Yeah.
especially when things feel like they're exploding.
Yeah.
And back to finding joy and relationship with the people that we are aligned with, I think
Yeah.
is also very healing.
Yeah. Yeah.
And how do we begin to work with our nervous systems in a world that constantly feels like it's regulating us, where everything feels like it's exploding?
I think the first step is recognizing that's by design. There are
Mm.
companies that make billions of dollars by harvesting our attention and our awareness. So
And our data.
and our data. Like, kudos to you. You've discovered a flaw in the system, which is it only works unless it has your consent or your permission. So I think that's the first thing is just recognizing like you're participating in a system that wasn't designed for you. When you like casually scroll on Instagram when you're taking your bath at night, which is, like what I do sometimes, I fall into that as well. Like you are participating in a system that is meant to dysregulate you. That is like straight up cold hard facts. So,
Yep.
first things first, know what you want from the experience before you have the experience. Otherwise, the experience will have you. So I think that's thing number one. Thing number two is we could all benefit from reconnecting to a larger nervous system. Like, what is your environment like? What is your community like? What does your natural surroundings look like? Being able to actually have time that you are reconnecting to what it means to be an animal on this planet right now, not just like a hyper productive, producing, achieving
Mhm.
machine, but like what is the relationship to your natural surroundings? What is your relationship to your community around you? Like, I mean, when I think about where we are and at times it can feel just apocalyptic mess. It changes in an instant when you prioritize connection with the self that's
Mhm.
not disconnected from the world around you. So how does that look like? It's going to look different for each person based on where they are. Some people have access and privilege to better surroundings than other people, but there's still a possibility of connection that I feel like hasn't been explored because of these weapons of mass distraction in our pockets that keep us tethered to a company that is making money off of that.
Yeah. So it sounds like part of it is just bringing awareness to what's distracting and
Oh,
ultimately disabling us.
I had someone ask me a question the other day, like, why should people meditate? Why should everyone meditate? And I thought everyone doesn't need to meditate, but what they need is to cultivate the personal relationship with stillness.
Mm.
Like, what does that mean to each individual? Stillness, not like, straitjacket or Demi Moore in St. Elmo's Fire rocking in front of an open window with the curtains blowing. Like stillness meaning you minus inputs,
Yeah.
so that some of these like we're co-creating with natural intelligence all the time. We just don't really listen to it. So so much can happen when we slow down. I'm a firm believer, like my business is based on the idea that slowing down is the precursor to change. Like we don't have all the answers yet, but when we can slow down, we can have these micro moments of stillness. Something arises, something evolves with a living forward energy as to, okay, well, what is the next right step that I can participate in? I think that we need to be hyper vigilant about protecting that,
Yeah.
especially in today's world where, you know, time and attention are our two most valuable assets, but we don't protect it. That comes after the fact, after we've done the thing, after we've checked off the to-do list. And why? Because it doesn't feel active. It doesn't feel like we're,
It's
but I
that constant demand that we are constantly the pressure to produce.
well, that really kind of is like the crux of the matter because that's the cultural conditioning. You're not entitled to anything unless you work your ass off for it,
Yeah.
unless you like sacrifice, unless you like. But that really is like internal power is the difference between power and force. You can work really hard, override your capacity, and like get sick and get something done. Or you can sit with yourself and have these moments of stillness, have these moments in nature. And stillness doesn't mean like literally being still, it can mean like active stillness for some people,
Hmm.
like taking a walk outside.
Especially
What
for my
arises?
neurodivergence folks, or my neurodivergent folks, where I think like are
Oh,
rocking, or who have to being still is
yes.
rocking or tapping or patting, like yeah, all of that.
Gorgeous. Yeah, 100%. Yeah, that's my go-to. My grandma walks around the neighborhood. That's like, the thing that I protect. Like that's the thing that allows me to sort of just kind of like drop in after I take my son to school and then just go and have that time to connect. So it's something that it's a lost art form because we've lost the
Mm.
ability to be bored.
Oh, so true. So true. What you just said, it just really resonated with me because as I'm getting over being sick, and my body, I was again like working my ass off, just go, 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 go. And my body told me, you need to sit the fuck down. It was like, since you haven't
Yeah.
been listening to me, I'm going to shut your ass down. Here we go. Like the
Yeah.
body knows and it will speak if you are not listening. And so now I'm like, okay,
Correct.
okay.
Yeah.
I'm going to spend the
Yeah.
weekend in bed because now I don't have a choice and that's what I need.
Yeah. Yeah. 100%. The more you pay attention to that, you it's really hard to unsee something that you see. So you're able to like, honor that more. The more that you listen to it, it's reciprocal.
Yeah. You help people create real lasting change in the middle of chaos rather than after it. So kind of what we were continuing to talk about just now, what does that look like if I were to work with you? Like what would that be? What are some things?
We disrupt patterns
Yeah.
because that's what got you there in the first place. So, I think first step is understanding that wellness, like my definition of wellness is disruption.
Mm,
We're disrupting the patterns that have, led you to being sick, stressed, overwhelmed, tired. We get you back to some of those natural rhythms internally. And the big one is we get you back in the driver's seat from a felt sense of agency. So, from the body perspective, a felt sense of safety,
yeah.
because that's usually the thing that keeps the body spinning, is that it just doesn't feel safe. So, that right there is the piece that have made companies billions and billions of dollars, is that if I can keep you distracted, if I can keep you stressed out, then I know I can keep your cash flow coming my way.
Oh yeah.
And safety is an interesting word. It's going to mean different things to different people based on their context, based on their shaping throughout their development, based on their geographical location. So I'm naming that safety, can be a very nuanced word, but internally, when a body feels safe to come back into itself, when it feels like the 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 edges of this is where my body ends and this is where the external environment begins and I'm not in a free fall, that something powerful happens. Like there's a vitality, there is something that feels, uh you know for lack of a better word and not to sound cheesy, but alchemical. I mean,
Yeah.
like
Yeah.
there is something, there's an internal shift that leads people back to an internal felt sense of agency.
Yes.
And because actually you are already naturally creative, resourceful, and whole. Like everything's going to arise from you. We're just creating the right conditions for you to get back to that.
Yeah.
So it's pretty amazing to see what happens when people do take that back. Then all of a sudden it's like a immediate like bullshit detector. Things just fall away.
Totally.
And what feels important becomes glaringly obvious.
I had a moment last week that I want to share where I used a tool that you gave me in one of our sessions.
Hmm.
I was in the middle of an email exchange, and this email exchange was making my nervous system really like light the fuck up because it was I was feeling wasn't feeling great about it. I'm not going to say too much, but I was angry, I was upset. Um I knew I was gonna not say the right thing, and I needed to take a moment. And so it was about time to walk my dog. So I stood up, I left my computer, I put on my bird sounds because we've discovered that I connect well with the sound of birds. That's my thing.
You
And
know,
so I put on my bird sounds. I took my dogs for a gorgeous walk for 30 minutes. I came back. I was calm. I responded, and it went much better than had I stayed there and continued to type, 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 type.
yes.
Yeah, so just an example for me of how much you've changed my life and how these tools have really impacted me for the better. And again, back to what I said, it's that opportunity to create space. I have agency over what is happening to me in my body in this moment.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah. Yeah. It's a two-part picture. What you just named is, being able to change your environment, change your relationship, creating that felt sense of safety allowed you to reconnect back to a sense of agency, and therefore you're able to detach from or get your hooks out of the story. So, two things are going to happen, which is just from that energetic shift, that person's going to be less of an asshole, or you're going to be less invested in the story around that scenario.
yeah. The story. We
So,
have so many. We love to tell ourselves stories.
well, and this is where like parts work comes into play too.
Hmm.
Meaning like we tend to lead from different parts of ourselves, from protectors or defenders, like not saying you are, but that's what I see
Yeah.
in leadership positions a lot of time, because especially like when people advance in leadership positions, they're leading in a vacuum. They don't have the supervisor connection that they had that felt so comforting, so therefore they're often leading from a position of like defender or protector without even realizing it. And it's interesting kind of getting people back in touch with that, and sort of building the relationship back with those aspects of personalities that show up in different scenarios. There's something magical that can happen where it just opens up to so much more possibility, and that's a somatic experience. I studied traditional parts work for a while, through the work of Richard Schwartz. Brilliant, absolutely brilliant. But it wasn't until I found IRF, of bringing it into the body, where it actually made sense, because then you're able to like sense that in real time. So I've noticed that even within myself, there are certain people, there are certain individuals that if I'm having experiences with, it's going to trigger a part of me that wants to come in and like, either like take control, or like, kind of alpha that situation where I don't need to. I just
Yeah.
need to state my preference and stay connected to what is happening, internally,
Oh,
in that moment.
this is like speaking to me because this is what I'm dealing with right now.
Yeah, it's crazy.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. I can't talk about it on the show. I'll tell you about it later. Yeah.
Uh,
Anyway, a lot of my listeners, surprise, surprise, are in midlife, which is basically one long identity unraveling, it feels like sometimes.
mhm.
From your perspective, what does it look like to consciously rebuild identity rather than just reacting to what's falling apart?
I think about the being rather than the doing.
Mm.
Who do you want to be versus what do you want to do? People make bucket lists, which I think are garbage. Like, but who do you want to be? Like, how do you want to show up? What is the ideal experience in terms of the beingness of it? Because if you're middle age, if you've been in a job for a certain amount of years, you've had a handful of careers. By the time you get to middle age, for some of us, there's a shift where I am so tired of all the doing.
Yeah.
And I think that's probably the pivot. That's the fork in the road where, as you're approaching into this next chapter of your life, what is the quality of experience versus the quantity of experience? Um, so it's less about how much can I cram into a day in terms of like joyful things versus what do I want to be when I actually experience that? And what's different about that than it was, say, a year ago, 5 years ago, 10 years ago? That feels like a lightning rod moment for me when I play with that,
Mm.
because it's like immediately everything kind of, it creates like a ripple of cohesion, because when you are rooted in the beingness, you're rooted in the present moment. Where you're if you're rooted in the doingness, you are rooted in either past or future. It's all past or future oriented. So the beingness is connected to your values. It is connected to how you want to show up. It is connected to personal preference for the type of experience that you're wanting to have in that moment. It's not future oriented. It's not like, okay, well, next week, when I do that spin class, or I do that whatever, or I take that trip or whatever, it's right here, it's right now. And so for me, like, that feels like very top of the mind, moving into this next chapter is, I'm all for doing, but what does the beingness look like?
Yeah. Yeah, I feel like, had I not given that some thought, I don't think I would have had a career shift if I hadn't
Ah,
taken stock
beautiful.
in that moment, years
Yeah.
ago. Something had to change. So, you brought up again the word joy. We mentioned that a few times, and uh, finding joy. I think in the moment, there's this idea that joy, especially for marginalized people, isn't frivolous, right? It's actually an act of resistance. What does that look like in practice, and how do you access joy without bypassing what's hard or painful?
I think that's the myth. If I step out of anger, then I'm just giving permission for it all to be completely fucked.
Yeah.
Uh Joy is resistance. Joy is resistance. Oh my God. I mean, holy shit balls. When you are in joy, you are out of the guise of dominance. It's hard to dominate someone, whether that's from a government perspective, whether that's from a systemic perspective, if someone is joyful. Like, you talk about, like, people don't know when they're being lied to, when they're being told the truth. Truth is joy. Like, joy is truth. There's a vitality to it that is, like, unmistakable. You cannot fucking dominate me when I am in joy,
Mhm.
because I'm not in panic. I'm not in crisis. I'm not in fear. I'm not in overwhelm. I'm not in scrambling mode. So therefore, I am less impressionable of your agenda that you want to impose on me. And it's the most glorious middle finger that you can give.
Yeah.
It is an act of resistance that is so palpable. So what does that look like? Like, start small. I think there's a woman, gosh, I'm forgetting her name. She's a researcher and therapist. She has a book on it. I think it's called Tiny Joys, where
Okay.
that's it, like, that's it. It's like 1 to 3 expressions of things that bring you joy. Not like, I want a trip to Paris, but like, this black cherry seltzer is like hashtag nailing it. It's rocking my world right now.
Yeah.
Or, holy shit balls, like, this flower that is this tulip, this like blood red tulip that's blooming at the bottom of my stairs right now, is like hashtag everything. It's amazing. It's these tiny joys, because we have the problem with systems that were not created for our independence and thriving, is that they rob us of that. They rob us of an agency to access joy,
Mm.
and it reinforces the negativity bias, right? It
Yeah.
reinforces the negativity bias, but thank goodness to neuroplasticity, like, the neural connections to strengthen how we experience joy. How small can joy be, right? Because also, when we think about joy, we think about, like, I just need to be in joy all the time. Well, that's
That's
impossible.
not
Good
gonna
luck with
happen.
that. And that's
Yeah.
psychotic, right? Um, but how small can it be? How can this moment with my son be so stupid and silly that we both like end up like I think about that all the time.
Mhm.
Like my son is probably the easiest outlet to experience joy. uh, like in the moments when he's not having difficulty, like how stupid or silly can we make this experience, or how can we just like maximize this experience, or this walk in the park, or playing ball, or watching a stupid show? Like how much can we enjoy that together? So I think it starts with permission, really. I think it
Yeah.
starts with like giving yourself permission, because it kind of feels like cheating when
Mhm.
things have sucked for so long. You kind of feel like you're cheating on yourself if you actually give yourself permission to joy. Re-envisioning new ways of being while working within broken
Yeah.
systems.
And
Like 100%.
you can be both, right? Like the world can be on fire, you can be doing whatever your part is that you're doing, and you can still find joy. It is okay to be both. It is okay to be worried and also to find joy, right?
Yeah, yeah. There is this woman who I'm obsessed with. I'm looking.
You look,
Gosh.
I'm just gonna say what I was thinking of, and that while you're looking, and I was gonna say that I always think of something that Dan Savage has said, and I'm probably not gonna get the quote right, but he basically was, when he refers to the AIDS epidemic, which he, lived through, right?
Yeah,
He always the quote is something like, people were dying, we protested during the day, and we would dance all night. And I'm like, yes, like that is the energy. That is the
yeah.
energy.
That's it. I mean, I think about like when I grew up in Texas. The thing that was so life-giving growing up in a small town in Texas was the acts of queer joy, whether that was like sneaking into underage clubs, not to do drugs, but to like dance your ass off,
Yeah.
until wee hours of the morning, and like going and sitting in a Denny's until 2 in the morning, drinking shitty coffee and like laughing your ass off. Like even into college, like when, like me and my roommate, we would literally at like 12 o'clock at night, like get dressed up in drag and go do like impromptu photo shoots in the grocery store just because we were bored. And I think about like we that's what we need,
Yeah.
not the necessarily impromptu photo shoots in a grocery store, but
But
we
maybe
need
if that's your thing, go for
maybe
it. Yeah.
I would fully support that. But we need more random acts of joyful disruption.
Yes, joyful disruption. Oh, it's just like the what do you call it? Like, oh, geez, the brain. It's like my brain is sitting in a can of tomato soup. What do flash mob, same idea. Like
Yes.
like if my algorithm could just show me that all day, I'd be in much better
Yes.
condition. If
Oh
that's
my
all that
gosh.
Instagram showed
Yeah.
me were different flash mobs, that's
Yeah.
the energy I need, like that random
Yeah.
joy. Yeah.
Yeah.
Uh,
Yeah.
uh, it's funny because my next question for you I was going to ask you to kind of like recommend like one small thing that people could do, but I feel like you have already answered this question. But if you want to add to
Yeah.
that, feel free. Otherwise,
Be bold about doing it and do it right now.
yeah,
Like as you're listening to this, like go walk to your favorite, you know, place, whether it's a park or whatever. Like go, like do it. Like practice the doing of the thing so that you can experience the being of the thing. Like
right.
that's what I would add to it. And don't make it a big deal.
Because it's never
Don't
going to
make
be
it a
the
big
perfect
deal.
time. It's never going to. So just do it
No.
now. Yeah.
Yes.
Best
Yes.
advice. Best advice ever.
Yes.
Mark, we could talk all night, but you have a cutoff time and I want to make sure I get you out of here. So we are going to move on to the part of this interview where you tell us a spooky story. And that
Okay.
spooky story, right, doesn't have to be a literal haunting. We're just interested in the sort of high strange moments of maybe kismet eerie coincidences or that one time you followed a gut feeling or an actual haunting, that works too. So tell us your
Yeah.
story.
I gotta say, the first thing that came to mind was I went to New Orleans for the first time. I think like two summers ago.
That's where I had my 50th birthday.
Really? First of all, that place is magical. Like, holy moly. The
Good time.
food, the culture, like the intersection of culture alone, like it's one of those places there's no other place like it in the
No other
world.
place. Go there if you
Yeah.
haven't. Go.
First of all, like there's a tree there called the Tree of Life. It's like a 500-year-old tree, like a 20-minute ride outside of downtown New Orleans. Like if you ever go to New Orleans, please go visit this tree. I literally went there and standing in front of it, I just immediately started weeping. This tree has so much not like everything vibrates with, you know, spirituality and magic there.
Hmm.
It's pretty amazing. Okay, so my spooky story is I I was like up for the experience. I was there for a week working and I was like maximizing as much as I could. One day I went to the Voodoo Museum,
Yep.
which is in a tiny little like, tenement, housing unit. Very small. And you go in and you pay your ticket, you go behind the curtain, and you kind of go into these rooms. There's paintings, there's dioramas, there's statues, there's altars there to different, sort of saints and gods and goddesses. Um, and I went, and there was one I cannot remember the name of the person, but it literally stopped me in my tracks. There was like electricity flowing through my
Mm.
body. It literally took my breath away, and I found myself saying, "What do you want?" Like just out loud, like immediately like came out of my mouth, like, "What do you want?" And I just felt this energy and I was there for probably like a couple of minutes, and then I finished up quickly. It felt like a pretty disorienting experience.
Whoa.
I walked out, and the woman was like, how'd you like it?" And I was like, "There's some powerful energy." She's like, "Oh yeah, we had to do some cleaning and some rearranging, so some of the altars and things got moved last night. So a couple of them are probably a little unhappy right now." And I was like, "Holy
You're like,
shit."
that one over there, it's really
I
unhappy.
was like, "You might want to go have a conversation with that one in the corner over there because, yeah, things are not good in that corner." And she's like, she looked at me and she was like, "Don't worry, it's only energy." Okay, fine.
That is
I
so New Orleans for someone to be like, don't worry, it's only energy.
Don't worry, it's only energy. I was like, "The fuck it is. I don't want to take anyone home with me." So I got back to my hotel and I shit you not, is 5 minutes when I walked into the living room, which had like a big floor to ceiling window, a fucking huge crow came, flew, perched outside the window, looked directly at me, like cawed a couple of times, watched me for a couple of minutes, and then flew away. From that point on, I was followed by crows. I shit you not, for about 4 months
Whoa, a murder of crows.
in New Orleans, a murder of crows in New Orleans. When I got home, when I had to go on another business trip, I would be walking down the street. And I would look up, and there'd be like a gigantic crow, like swirling over my head. It got to the point to where it was comical. I'd be like, "What do you
What do
want?"
you want from
Like,
me?
"What do you want from me?" Um, yeah, and I think I did some just research into the symbolism, and just it was a big signifier of beginnings and endings and
Hmm.
change points, and that
Hmm.
definitely was a massive change point in my life, like 2 years ago. A change point in focus of career, what I was studying, what I wanted to facilitate for other people. And so I just took it as a sign that, like, keep going. You're on the right path. Like, keep doing what you're doing. I never felt any weird energy like someone's gonna die soon or
Yeah, I felt
anything
like you
like
would
that.
know. Yeah.
I would totally know. There
Yeah.
was never a moment of panic. It was almost like comical, like, these crows will not leave me alone. So it was wild. That was probably the spookiest, but also like not spooky. I feel like I kind of feel like Dr. Doolittle at times. Like I feel like talk to nature. I literally talk to trees. Like people think I'm crazy. Like some trees will stop me in my tracks, but now I don't see it as wild or crazy, but at the time, it rocked my world. I was like, "Holy shit!" Because as soon as I left that museum, Crow just came and perched and looked
Wild.
at me right outside the window, and I was immediately was like, "I see you. I
I see
acknowledge you.
you.
I support your intentions with love. May you go in love. May you go in light."
Perfect. That's exactly the right reaction, right? And the I mean, crows are so smart. I really
Yeah.
like one day I just whenever like I retire, I just want to live in an old swampy house in the middle of
Yeah.
like swampy Florida or something where I grew up,
Yeah.
and I just want to have a pet crow. That's all I want.
I
And
love it.
I want to be very haunted and
Yes.
scary with my pet crow.
Yes.
Those are my
Yes.
vibes. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
100%. I fully support that.
So, Mark,
Yeah.
before I let you go, we do
Yes.
have our bibliomancy section here, which is my between the lines. Now, this is where
Mhm.
you are going to think of a question. You're going to hold that thought in your head. I'm going to choose a page out of one of my books, and I'm going
Mm.
to do your reading, and then you're going to tell me the question after, and we're going to discuss, if it calls, calls to you. Now, I have two
Yeah.
books for you to choose from. Ironically, one of them is a bird book. It's ornithography, so I've got my bird book,
Ooh.
or my floriography, which is my flower book. Now, which would you
Ooh.
prefer?
It is spring, but let's go with the birds.
Let's do the birds. All
Okay.
right. Do you have your question?
Yeah.
Okay.
100%.
I love this for you. We got the peacock.
Ooh, yay.
The meaning of the peacock is reverence. The
Ah.
peacock, unlike the modest female peahen, okay, again, pronunciation, whatever, is a showy and stately bird revered as sacred in a number of cultures. In the Middle Eastern Yazidi religion, Tawushi Melek, this is Kurdish for peacock angel. Please, everyone, I don't say things right, so please don't come for me if I didn't say that right. Is the leader of God's seven angels. He is responsible for all that occurs in nature: the earth,
Mm.
sky, mountains, and sea. In ancient Greece, the peacock was sacred to Hera and pulled the goddess's chariot. The ancient Greeks who believed peacocks did not decay after death associated these birds with immortality. The Sanskrit word for peacock, Mayura, is associated with many Hindu gods. The peacock is also the national bird of India. That's interesting, which is its
Mm.
home country. In one legend, Indra, the Hindu god of rain, was fighting the demon Ravana, and when a peacock shielded him by hiding, a peacock shielded him by hiding him from view. To thank the bird, Indra gave him beautiful blue-green feathers. So I guess that's their
Mm.
origin of the peacock. All right, now tell me what your question was and tell me if that resonated.
Oh, good Lord, yes. My question is where are we headed? Where are we headed is such a pivot point right now
Yeah.
in society, as a culture, as a collective, and I love that answer. Reverence, and also like the peacock leading the chariot. Was that
Mm-hmm.
correct?
Mm-hmm.
Yes, I
Hera's
think
chariot.
about, oh my goodness. I think about the Gita, which I'm doing another deep dive into the Gita again right now, and just about Krishna being by Arjun's side leading the chariot, which is the personification of divinity,
Mm-hmm.
during times of what feels like hopelessness,
Yeah.
and really just a reminder to go within for what those next right actions are. So, peacock, I did not know that the peacock was the national bird of India. That's fascinating.
Fascinating.
Yeah, yeah, but it certainly is, a majestic bird, and just the whole idea of reverence, like, these are unprecedented times, but we can show, I think that's what we do. We show, reverence for the destruction so that creation can happen again.
Yeah.
So, it feels like just spot on for that question.
I would even add too something that I was thinking of is, talking about joy as resistance. I talk about visibility as resistance, and the
Yes,
peacock is
yes,
visible. The peacock does not
yes.
disappear. The peacock is out there showing itself. And I think that's such an important reminder for all of us that are on a particular side of things to remember that we do not disappear and we must stay visible. And that is also a form of activism. Yeah.
I love that. Yes, because the peacock is like, "Let me tell you who the fuck I am."
Hmm.
Just like immediate colored feathers. Yes, 100%.
Yeah,
So may we all be a little more daring in sort of showing who we are.
agreed.
Yeah, yeah.
Mark, it's that time. I'm getting you out
No,
perfectly on time.
no.
I know this was so fun,
Oh,
and I'm so glad you were here. Before I let you go, though, tell everybody how they can find you, where, all of that good stuff.
yes. Thank you. Yeah, best way to find me is alchemycollective.org. That's where you can sort of just get a sense of what I do, coaching, meditation, working with the body. And to reach to me directly, hello at alchemycollective.org
Awesome.
is email. So, yeah.
I will put all of that in the show notes. And Mark does private one-on-one. He does some group stuff. He does some corporate stuff. He does it all. So if you're interested in any of that, you should reach out to him and get connected.
I'm
Man,
literally about to go to China for a corporate sort of leadership training, which that feels like the adventure of the year. So that's going to
yeah.
be wild. So
Oh, I can't
super
wait to hear
excited
all
about
about that.
that. Yeah, yeah,
Crazy.
it should be fun.
Yeah.
It is such a joy to connect with you. I just
Same.
love. I'm so grateful for you and what you do. So
Thank
thank you.
you. I
Yeah,
appreciate that. All
yeah.
right. Thank you again, and I will talk to you later.
Okay.
Bye.
Agecraft After Dark is written, produced, and edited by me, Julia Granacchi. Theme music Bernard Burnett by Ivy Virus. Have a question or a spooky story? I want to hear it. Leave me a message at speakpipe.com/agecraft, and you might just hear yourself on the show. For more Agecraft content, join me on Substack at agecraft.substack.com. If you'd like to work with me and learn more about all of the things, head to juliagwellness.com. Thanks for listening. Remember, visibility is activism. And until next time, stay curious, stay a little haunted, and I'll see you in the dark.